Hey everyone, Maurice here. Hey, I just wanted to take a couple minutes here and just walk through a really quick tutorial on Fusion on how I did this. And basically what this is a top of a box and I'm going to do a marquetry scene and I'm going to add a lot of depth in here and it's going to be pretty cool. So it's going to be made out of veneer. I'm going to use my laser to cut all these individual pieces out. And then I'm going to glue everything onto a substrate and it should look really good and it should accent the box pretty well that I'm going to make. But let's talk through and just the steps on how to actually do this. So I ended up using Firefly. Firefly is an Adobe product that uses AI to generate images based on your text prompts. It has a generation fill where you can do certain things with other images and it will automatically fill them. This is not a tutorial on how to use this, but I just wanted to showcase that the image that I used, I prompted this AI tool to generate an image based on what I really was looking for. So basically, what I prompted it to do was just to make a simple optical illusion with 3D cubes that were suspended in the actual space itself. So I played around with this for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, found an image that I liked. I had to do, if I liked something, I could do a similar generation. But I was playing around with the intensity and the strength of everything. And there's other formats here. It's actually pretty powerful, and I'm pretty impressed with Adobe on this specific thing. So the image that I ended up generating looked exactly like this. From this, I imported this into Fusion and I started manipulating the image. So let's go ahead and we'll start that. But basically, again, I took an image off of Adobe Firefly, got it into Fusion, and then we started. So, all right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to hide this. So I have that image downloaded, and before I import this into Fusion, I have to understand how big the box, some of the critical dimensions that I want to hit. So I basically landed, and I'm going to make a new sketch here, and I'm just going to replicate what I think that box is going to be as far as dimension wise. So I used the center rectangular tool. I went from the center point, and I'm more than confident my box is probably going to be 8 by 5. So I'm going to hit enter on that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit finish sketch. And then I'm going to go to insert, and then I'm going to click on canvas. And then I'm going to go ahead and find that image that I downloaded from Firefly. And I'm going to import that in here as far as a background image that I can model off against. So I click the image, and what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to have to resize this just to fit within the parameters of this box. And this actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I like it right about there. So I'm going to hit OK on that. I'm comfortable with that. The cubes are pretty large within this space, and they're pretty defined. So critical to note. So I created a sketch, and then I imported this canvas. If I was to go back and edit this sketch that I just made, my canvas basically disappeared, and I can't see it anymore. That's because I created the sketch first and then I imported this image in. To fix that, if I want to see this canvas on the background of this image or the sketch, all I got to do is go to my history. I'm going to click on it and hold, and I'm going to drag, and I can move that in my history. So when I released it, it moved this canvas on the back side of this sketch now. So when I edit my sketch, and if I double click here, I can actually see the canvas. So just a FYI, if that happens to you, that's the main reason why that's happened. It's just the order that you created things within Fusion. And you have the option to move those in different spots of the history, and it keeps everything very clean and manageable. Okay. Looks like I just lost my internet. That's okay. I don't need it. So let's go ahead and we'll start working with this. Okay, so what I want to do, since these are boxes, let's go ahead and I'm just going to make a box. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And you can see the box that I made, you can see these little constraints. These are constraints that are parallel. So say if I click on this point and I hold, and if I move this around, everything still stays symmetrical as far as if it's vertical and horizontal. When I release this, what I can do is I can delete these constraints. And what that does is it frees it up now where I can take this point and I can move it around. This is a lot faster than just drawing lines or to do this. So that's one side of my box currently. So let's go ahead and let's do the same thing. Let's do a line. I'll show you a different way of doing this. So if I do another box with a line, you'll notice that these perpendicular constraints are in here too. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. And now if I move this, everything is still connected. Actually, let's delete that and we can move this to here. So now you can see that this is all anchored. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that one more time, and I'm going to do this point to this point to this point to this point. Now you see the constraints that were added. I'm going to go ahead and delete those constraints out. That doesn't equal, and now if I move this around, this moves. This moves independently. This moves independently. So I got some really good leverage here. So since I already understand what my overall box dimensions are going to be, I'm going to delete this rectangle that we made earlier to get this scaled correctly. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to move this into place. So we'll move this right over this box. And it'll get a lot faster once we get the first one done. I'm going to hit OK on that. And now I'm going to start moving these into place based on the sketch that I currently have. And it doesn't have to be 100% where you want it right now. We're just going to get it kind of close. Yeah, let's do this. And then what we can do is, since we have this overhang, I'm going to delete this and I'm just going to add this here. Okay, so let's make sure this actually fits pretty well. We'll hit all of our points. Oop. You'll have to play around with it. If you use this kind of strategy to do this, sometimes it can get kind of funky. But it's a little bit faster than doing it in other ways that Fusion will allow you to do. I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy this. And when I hit the copy, I can automatically just move it and it will keep the original here, and it just made just a basic copy. So I'm going to hit OK on that. So let's go ahead and move these into place. Yeah, that looks good. This is going to be intersecting over here. Okay. I like it. We'll bring this down just a little bit. And this it does look pretty funky. I like it. And there's the other one. So let's do the same thing. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight all this stuff. Let's do this one. We'll make sure that nothing else is selected here and only that box. Okay. We'll make sure we click create copy. Then we'll move this into place and we'll do another one. And what I'll do is I'll only do these three just for this walkthrough. but you would do all, whatever your drawing called for. It's a really good method, and it's pretty quick once you've done it a couple times. It's a lot faster than other methods. So let's make sure this is good. This is good. And yeah, that looks really good. All right. So that's starting to look like something. Now you can see I have some intersecting lines here that I don't want. So to trim those out, we can use the trim tool. And the trim tool is based on where the intersecting lines are that you want to cut out. So this box is in the background of this box. So none of these lines, this should be the focal point of this box. So I'm going to delete this line and this line and this line, and it has effectively removed those. So now this cube is in front of this cube, which I really like. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to bring back my overall dimensions. And I think, what did I say? It was 8x5. Yeah, 8x5. And now I'm going to add a background to this because I want this to have some kind of 3D space that looks pretty good. So the easiest method is I want to have this center line intersect here, and then every let's say every 0.5, I want a line coming from here to that center point. So the easiest way of doing this is I'm going to delete this line. And let's go ahead and, let's do this. I'm going to delete this. Let's do this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line coming 0.5 up. And then I'm going to make another line here going 0.5 on the horizontal. Okay, now what we can do is we can use the rectangular pattern. This thing is super cool. If you click this line and say your direction and you want the spacing to be every 0.5, then you can start adding all these additional lines all the way across. And what this will do is it will just add anchor points that we can use to anchor all these horizontal lines that are going to come in. So we'll hit OK on that. So now you can see is I have a point every 0.5. I'm going to do the same thing here. We'll do this. Direction will be this way. And it'll be every 0.5. And we'll go all the way up to the top of that box. All right. Now what we can do, and this is a little bit faster, is I'm going to delete this line and I'm going to delete this line. I'm going to draw a center line here. This way and then this way. This will make sense in a second here. It looks like that didn't stick, so let's go ahead and we'll just do this. Okay, this is going to be my center line that I'm going to mirror all this stuff to. So let's go ahead and use the mirror option, and I'm just going to highlight. Before we do this, let me clean this up. I like this. We can get rid of this. There's a point here that we need to get rid of. Excuse me. So let's use our mirror tool, and I'm going to make sure this doesn't get mirrored. So I'm going to just hold my shift key and I'm going to click this line so that way it's not selected. Now I have all these points highlighted. I'm going to select my mirror line and I'm going to mirror it here. So I have essentially mirrored everything from the bottom and it reached the top of that box. I'm going to right click and I'm going to repeat mirror. And I'm going to do the same thing for this now. So I'm going to make sure it's only that line. And yep, so I'm good there. I'm going to use this as my mirror line. And there is all my points all the way around this box. It's probably the quickest and easiest method to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, actually, before I do that draw, I'm going to delete this mirror line. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw lines every 0.5 to this edge. Now I could have used the rectangular tool, but I wanted to make sure I constrained these lines at every 0.5 to the middle point of that rectangle. And we'll just keep going here. Oh, missed that. And what I'll do is I'll speed up the video here. That way we get all the way across. If you need extra time, if you're following along, just go ahead and hit your pause button and work through creating all these lines. But let's go ahead and speed this up. All right, and here is the last one. So let's go ahead and we'll zoom into this. You can see a whole bunch of lines being created. Everything is constrained 0.5 from the edge. So I'm really liking it. Now what we can do is let's go ahead and we'll start deleting some of this stuff. And we're going to use the same tool, the trim tool, and we're going to start trimming these out. So let's go ahead and we'll trim everything that's inside of these cubes. This might take just a little bit for this to go through, so I'm going to speed this up, and then we'll see how this actually turns out. All right, since I got everything trimmed out now, I still have some lines here. The easiest way is we're just going to delete these. So I'm just going to highlight all of this stuff and I'm going to hit the delete button, and there is all of my lines, and then this is the focal point. And focal point, ooh, I missed a box here, so let me go ahead and trim this stuff out. This should be really fast. All right. And there it is. Let me just double check this. You can see that this intersects, so we got to make sure we delete that. This is the foreground, this is the background, and that actually looks really, really good. So from there, that's basically what I need to cut my veneer out. So let me go ahead and hide this canvas. And there is technically my image that I'm going to take over. I'm going to convert this to a .dxf, and I'm going to take it to my laser machine, and I'm going to cut each one of these individually out with my laser. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that when these are cut out, it's going to be one sheet per color of veneer that I want. So that should turn out pretty good. I can also, if I wanted to, I can come back in here and I can add offsets. So if this is, you know, a certain color and this is a certain color, when I cut this out, I can add an additional offset. I can do that from my laser machine pretty easily with xTool's software. So this I'm super comfortable with. This is everything that I need to go to my laser machine and cut all this stuff out. But let's go ahead and let's visualize this really quick. So let's go ahead and what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure this is finished, and let's go ahead and let's add some thickness, and then we're going to add some appearance to it. I'm going to keep everything at 0.75. Let's do everything in order here. So let's do those first. Let me unhide this image that just got hidden. We're going to get a lot of stuff in here. So let me create a new group. This will be a cube. Let's put this in there. We'll keep all this stuff separated. So I'm going to move those bodies I just created. Now what I can do is I can hide this folder since I kind of grouped everything together. And I can go back in here. I can do the opposite side. Let's do 0.75. This will be a new body. We'll dump that into the cube folder, and then we'll do the other sides. Now, if I was to do all of this at once, it would combine everything, and I wouldn't be able to individually put certain things on there. So, all right, so let's go ahead and we'll dump this back into this folder. We'll unhide that. Those are my cubes, as you can see. And now let's go ahead and we're going to go every other one. So I'm going to hide my cube, and then let's start with this one. So we'll do every other line. And this will be every other one. And then this will be this one. And we'll make sure we hit all of these in sequence. So every other one. And it looks like we hit all of them. So let's go ahead and we'll make this 0.75 for our distance. We'll hit OK on that. Now let's go ahead and we'll keep everything, very easy to control. So let's go ahead and we'll make this, let's call this dark fan. Okay, and then we'll dump all of this in that folder. Oh. Now we'll clean up our history here. Let's go ahead and we'll hide those, but first let's make sure, so we did this one, so now we'll do the opposite for the other ones. So we can hide that. Let's go ahead and we'll select all these, the ones that we didn't make. Good. And then we'll make sure that we click the right ones in here. Okay. It'll be this one, and this one. Okay, I like it. All right, so we'll make this 0.75 for the thickness. We'll hit OK on that, and then what I'll do is I'll make a new folder, and we'll say this is the light fan. All right, so now what we can do, we'll dump that in there, and then we'll bring everything visible. We'll hide our sketch, and there is our veneer. And it's 0.75. My veneer is 0.02 thickness. Okay, we'll just keep that in the back of our mind. But it's nice working with this is just to visualize, and then we can start adding different colors. So let's go ahead and we'll hit modify. We'll go to appearance, and let's go ahead and say our dark. Let's highlight all of our dark. So I'm going to hit the shift key, and I'm going to click the bottom of that face, or the bottom of the body in that tree, and let's use mahogany. So there's all the lines for that one. Let me hide that back up. Let's do the same thing for our light. So I'm going to click the top portion of that body, and then I'm going to select all of them holding my shift key. And let's say this is going to be, let's do maple. That's fine. Now we can do the same thing for our cube, but we want to make sure that, this is probably the darkest side. This will be either lighter or a little bit darker than the other one. So what we can do is we can just do it manually. Let's do this maple. Let's do this ash. And then let's see which one's the darker one. Yeah, let's use that one. It's the darker one. Sweet. Now we can just replicate what we just did there. So that ash there. Let's do that. I'm still debating on what I'm going to use for my overall the veneer that I'm going to use on this. But you can see that there is our veneer panel that we're going to work with. I'm not going to use any of these bodies that I made. I'm going to use only the sketch to import into my laser machine so I can cut all of this veneer out. So total for the original idea that I have with multiple different cubes, not this specific one, but the other one that I showed earlier in the video, had about almost 100 pieces to it. So it's going to take some time. I'll have to be organized. But I got a really good idea on how to make it a little bit better, as far as, putting everything together. So, but that's what it's going to look like. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to I'm going to hide this stuff. I'm going to bring back this panel. This is the one I'm actually going to make, right? I'm going to use a really special technique on darkening using sand shading, right? The darker veneer on the bottoms, and then give it a lighter shade on the sides, and kind of really, really break it up to include the background. And using the same methodology that we just covered, I did a couple other things in the parametric editing, and it's going to be a 3D surface. So I'm going to bend all of this veneer into the contours of this shape. And then what I'm going to do is this background veneer, I'm going to shade, I'm going to darken all the low spots. And then these higher spots will be basically not shaded. So as it dips in, this is going to get darker. Both this veneer and this veneer, it will get darker. This all the way on the back side of this will be darkened. And the cool thing about sand shading is it disperses the heat evenly through the sand. So as I drop the veneer down, it should, in theory, I haven't done it before, but it should evenly disperse the heat and shade based on the contour of this. So I'm going to do a couple things to this thing. Matter of fact, let me hide this. Let's get rid of all this stuff here quick. I'm going to end up using my CNC machine, and this is the backside profile, and I'm going to bend the veneer to meet this profile, and then I'm going to put it into that sand so where I can shade it. So this will be darker here. This will be a little bit darker, but this will be lighter based on the heat distribution. Should be super cool. I'm really hoping that it turns out. This will definitely be a video upcoming. So if you want to see that, definitely make sure you're subscribed, turn those notifications on, and wait for that video. It should be super good. But at the end of the day, I think this thing is really going to turn out really, really well. So just keep your eyes on it. And but yeah, this will be the veneer. This right now is technically, this is 0.2 or 0.02 thickness. So when I cut all this stuff out, these 100 pieces, this is what it's going to look like when I bend all the veneer, sand shade it. This will be it, and it should be super good. This will be my substrate that I'm going to put it on, right? Should be really, really, really good. And yeah, and then I'm going to build a box. It's going to look pretty good. And yeah, it should be really, really unique. So I'll do another video at some point documenting how I actually made this a reality, but there was some tools that I used up here, and just played around with it, had a lot of fun. And at the end, it should look pretty good. So I hope this helped a little bit. Just importing images, using different methods on just generating ideas, but then getting it into Fusion 360 and then trying to make that a reality. So if you want to see more content, if you want to see specific things within Fusion, leave that in the comments. I'll definitely take a look, and I'll put something together for it. So anyways, hey, stay warm. Have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.